Hello everyone, and welcome to today's video on the perimeter and area of polygons. Our objective for today, students will be able to compute perimeters and areas of triangles and rectangles on a coordinate grid using the distance formula or the Pythagorean theorem. For prior knowledge, we're going to talk about perimeter. I want you to remember that the perimeter is the distance around a two-dimensional object. So if I have a rectangle here, I'm going to add the length of the object of the rectangle and the width of the object and the length and the width. So I get 20 units for this rectangle here. If we're talking about area and we're talking about units, general units, if I have a 4 centimeter square here, I can go ahead and calculate the area by multiplying. That's the space inside. So I'm going to multiply length times width, and this gives me 16 centimeters squared. You can see this visually. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way. I have 16 squares inside, or 16 units inside this square. So if we want to calculate the perimeter and area of this object here, we can go ahead and use those formulas that we came up with. Perimeter, that was 2 times the length plus 2 times the width, and our length here is 8 units, so I can say 2 times 8 units plus 2 times 6 units. I'll distribute the 2's. We get 16 units plus 12 units. When I add these together, we get 28 units. If you have not done so already, please make sure you're writing this down on the back. Please do this on the back side of your notes. For area, I'm just going to go ahead and multiply this. So area of a rectangle is equal to length times width. So this becomes 8 units times 6 units, and we get 8 times 6 is 48 units squared. Okay, that's the perimeter and area. For a triangle, our perimeter is still the same. It's going to be the distance around the outside edge. So I'm going to add up all the sides. So that would be 4 units plus 8 units. And notice how I'm not given the hypotenuse, but that is no problem because we have the Pythagorean theorem in our back pocket, which tells us that 16 plus 64 is equal to x squared, which is just 80 equals x squared. So I know the hypotenuse is the square root of 80. So this is the square root of 80 units, which is approximately 8.9 units. So 8.9. Okay, and if we go ahead and add up all these guys, 8 plus 8, that is 16, plus 4 is 20, so this is equal to 20.9 units. For area, it is 1/2 base times height. Make sure you write this down if you have forgotten this. This is going to be a very, very useful formula in this unit and going forward in math. So area of a triangle is 1/2 times the base. Our base is 8 units, and our height is formed perpendicularly, so that's going to be that value for units. So 8 times 4, that is 32 units squared, and we're going to divide this by 2, giving us 16 squared units. Okay, so in order to calculate the perimeter and area of objects, we need to figure out the length of certain line segments. So first we want to go ahead and calculate AB, which is this distance here. In a coordinate grid, this is very easy because we can just count the units. 2, 3, 4, 5. That distance, 5 units. So AB, 5 units. For BC, I'm just going to go ahead and count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 units. So vertical and horizontal distances are extremely easy to calculate in a coordinate grid. Now I want to calculate AC. So to do this, we have a couple of tools in our tool belt. We can use Pythagorean theorem, or we can go ahead and use the distance formula. A lot of people tend to find Pythagorean theorem easier, so go ahead and use this, and this is what I'm going to do. So to find AC, I know that AC, and we'll call it little side b, so I know that b squared is equal to 7 squared plus 5 squared, and that's 49 plus 25 is equal to b squared. This becomes 554 plus 2 is 74 equals b squared, and therefore b squared, take the square root, is square root of 74. And this makes b approximately, if we punch this in to our calculator, 8.6 units. 8.6. So we get 8.6 units. Okay, we're going to go ahead and we are going to calculate the perimeter. So if I want the perimeter of this object, I'm just going to go ahead and add this. So AB was 5 units, BC was 7, and AC was 8.6. So we just go ahead and add them together. 5 units plus 7 units plus 8.6 units gives us, well, 5 plus 7 is 12, plus 8 is 20, and that is 20.6 units. That is my perimeter. For area, we again are going to use our 1/2 base times height formula, and BC is our base, AB is our height, so I have 7 units and 5 units, giving us area equaling 1/2 7 times 5, which is 35 units squared divided by 2, giving us 17 square units. For example 2, we're just going to go ahead and look at a rectangle. Same idea here. In order to calculate the area and the perimeter, I just need to calculate these distances. The cool thing about a rectangle is that its length is congruent to itself on the other side. So these two sides are equal, and the width is also congruent to itself. So really, we only need to go ahead and calculate 2 sides in order to figure out our perimeter and area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate AB, and I'm going to calculate BC. So I'm only going to calculate these two, and then I'll just write in these two values. So AB, I can go ahead and calculate this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the distance formula. A is located at -5, 2, and B is located at -2, 5. So these are my 2 points. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use my distance formula. Difference in my x values. Difference in my x values comes first. That is -2. Take away -5. And I'm going to square this guy. One too many parentheses. square that guy, and then I'm going to add it to the difference in my y values, which is 5 minus 2 squared. Okay, so this gives me -2 take away a -5 would be a positive 3 squared, and 5 minus 2 is 3 squared. So this becomes 9 plus 9, which equals the square root of 18. Square root of 18, and I can calculate this as approximately 4.2 units. Okay, so that makes also this side 4.2 units. BC, I'm going to go ahead and calculate this guy by doing the same exact thing. I'm going to use the distance formula. So -2, 5, and then this point right here is 6, -2. 6. Okay, so 6, -2. Plugging this in, so the difference in my x's, I'm going to do 6 take away -2. And I'm going to square that quantity, and I'm going to add that to the difference in my y's. -2 take away 5. And I'm going to square that quantity, and all that's underneath the square root. 6 take away -2 becomes positive 8 squared. -2 take away 5 becomes -7 squared, which ends up being 64 plus 49. 64 plus 49. And this is equal to 113. The square root of 113, which is approximately 10.6. Okay, and that means AD is also 10.6. So we're going to calculate the perimeter. I have 2 times, so perimeter equals 2 times the length, which is 10.6 units, plus 2 times my width, which is 4.2 units. Okay, so 21.2 units plus 8.4 units, which ends up being 29.6 units. That's the perimeter. Okay. In order to go ahead and calculate the area of this guy, I'm just going to multiply length times width. And length times width will give us our area. So remember, BC, this was 10.6 units, and the height of this guy, or the width, length times width, is 4.2 units. Okay, and all we have to do is multiply them. Area equals length times width, or base times height for a rectangle. So that's 10.6 units times 4.2 units. And this gives us 10.6 times 4.2, 44.52 units squared. Okay, that is the length, the perimeter and area of a rectangle. Remember, for closure, how do we calculate perimeter? Well, perimeter is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width, and for area of a rectangle, it is base times height, or length times width. For a triangle, area changes slightly just by multiplying by 1/2 base times height.